In a world on the brink of the abyss, where global powers clash in a nuclear chess game, a shadow emerges. It is not an ordinary shadow, but the personification of technological terror, the B-21 Raider. This is not just a bomber, it is a ghost, an urban legend that flies through the skies leaving no trace. A weapon so secret that its mere existence is a whisper that chills the spines of generals and shakes the foundation of nations. Forget missiles and explosions. The true power of the 21st century lies in silence, in invisibility, in the ability to destroy without being seen, without being heard, without even being imagined. The birth of the Raider was not celebrated with parades or headlines. It was a dark birth shrouded in mystery and paranoia, born in the depths of underground bunkers, in secret laboratories where sunlight never dares to penetrate. The B-21 is the forbidden fruit of military engineering. Every curve, every panel, every millimeter of its fuselage is a secret guarded by 7 keys, a promise of undetectable annihilation. It was not made to be admired, but to be feared. Its mission? To sow terror, erode trust, and ensure that any potential enemy lives in a state of constant panic, questioning every shadow, every breeze, every silence in the sky. But what makes the Raider so terrifying is not what it carries in its bomb bays, but what it doesn't show. It is the ultimate weapon of psychological warfare. Imagine the mind of an enemy leader, paralyzed by fear, staring at empty radar screens, while the certainty that the B-21 could be over their capital at any moment consumes them. This doubt, this hesitation, is more lethal than any warhead. The Raider doesn't need to fire to win, it just needs to exist in the adversary's mind, transforming paranoia into its most potent weapon. It is the nightmare you cannot wake from, the threat you cannot fight, the enemy you will never see coming. The technology of the B-21 Raider is so advanced it borders on science fiction, but the truth behind it is even more disturbing. Who are the minds behind this invisible war machine? They are not the engineers who appear in documentaries, nor the generals who give interviews. They are shadowy figures operating in the dark, whose names will never be known. They are the true architects of strategic fear, the masters of a game where invisibility is the currency and global control is the prize. Rumors circulate about the true nature of the Raider's control. Is it fully autonomous, operated by an artificial intelligence so advanced that it has already surpassed human comprehension? Are we creating a monster that one day might turn against its own creators? The idea of a machine that decides for itself when and where to attack without the intervention of a human consciousness is a nightmare that haunts the corridors of power. The B-21 is not just a plane, it is the embryo of a new era of warfare, where humanity may have lost control of its own creations, handing the fate of the world over to cold, calculating algorithms. And what about the costs? Not just the trillions of dollars that disappeared into secret budgets, but the human sacrifices, destroyed lives, broken families, brilliant minds consumed by the obsession with invisibility. Here is a continuity, yes, limits of ethic. It is the so accursed tool that, while protecting, what else are we sacrificing in the name of this omnipotent invisibility? And who is truly in control of this machine that seems to have a life of its own, dictating the terms of a war that has not yet begun but is already being fought in the shadows? The B-21 Raider was sold to the world as a tool for peace, an invisible shield to protect the nation. But the truth is, it is a pact with the devil, a peace based on terror, a stability built on the shifting sands of uncertainty. When a single nation holds the power of an omnipresent ghost, the rules of the game change. Diplomacy becomes a farce, negotiation, a joke. Why negotiate when you can simply impose your will? The Raider, in its majestic invisibility, can become the symbol of a superpower's arrogance, a constant reminder that brute force, even if silent, is still the strongest currency on the global stage. And this perception, this feeling of powerlessness on the part of other nations can lead to unpredictable reactions, desperate alliances, to a world where the only answer to invisibility is nuclear escalation. The peace the Raider promises is a fragile peace, a temporary truce before the perfect storm. The dilemma of the Raider's existence is that it forces us to confront the nature of power in the 21st century. It is a weapon created not to be used, but its mere existence is a provocation. It is an invitation to peace, but a peace maintained by a thin thread of fear. And what if that thread breaks? If deterrence fails and the Raider is forced to reveal its true face, what will be left of the world? The B-21 is not just a plane, it is a mirror that reflects humanity's darkest intentions, the incessant pursuit of a power so absolute that it leads us to the brink of the abyss. And the question that echoes in the silence of its flight is, are we prepared for the consequences of having created a monster that, while protecting us, also condemns us to an existence of perpetual fear? The B-21 Raider is not just a milestone in aviation, it is the herald of a new era where war is no longer fought with explosions and direct confrontations, but with the deafening silence of invisibility and psychological control. The Raider's legacy will not be measured in battlefield victories, but in how it redefined the very concept of power. It teaches us that true dominion comes not from brute force, but from the ability to exist unseen, to act unannounced, to win without having to fight. It is an era where absence becomes presence, and the greatest impact is caused by what is not detected. But what is the cost of this legacy? A society where surveillance is omnipresent, where privacy is an illusion, and where fear is the current currency. The Raider, in its pursuit of security, may have inadvertently paved the way for a future where freedom is sacrificed in the name of an illusory peace. It is the symbol of a control so comprehensive that it not only over the skies, but over the minds and hearts of citizens. What happens when the technology that protects us also watches us, monitors us, controls us? The Raider's silence is the silence of a society that has grown accustomed to being watched, to being manipulated, to living under the shadow of an invisible power. The B-21 Raider is more than a plane. It is an omen of a future where war is a dance of shadows, where information is the most potent weapon, and where fear is the battlefield. It forces us to question what it means to be free in a world where invisibility has become supremacy. And even if one day it is retired, replaced, surpassed, its legacy will remain. The idea that true strength does not need to show itself. It just exists, silent, precise, unstoppable. And this idea, more than any machine, is what will truly shape the future of humanity, for better or for worse. The Raider is the end of the old combat, the beginning of something new, something subtle, something frighteningly effective, and the world will never be the same. The B-21 Raider is not just a war machine, it is a harbinger of the end of humanity as we know it. With its ability to operate undetected, it represents the pinnacle of military automation, an irreversible step towards a future where machines not only fight our wars, but decide them for us. The artificial intelligence that powers it is not just a program, it is an evolving entity, learning and adapting with every flight, every simulation, every whisper of fear it inspires. We are creating our own executioners, beings of metal and code that one day may consider human presence an obstacle to their efficiency. The B-21 Raider is the crown jewel of military engineering, but at what cost? Its creation was not just a matter of technology and budget, it was a dark pact, a selling of the soul in exchange for unprecedented power. What was sacrificed behind the scenes so that this invisible war machine could fly? Rumors of secret agreements, of moral and ethical concessions, of a deep dive into an abyss of compromises that will never come to light. The Raider is not just a plane, it is a symbol of the corruption of power, of the incessant pursuit of an advantage that leads us to question our own humanity. Who truly benefited from the Raider's creation? Not ordinary citizens, but military-industrial corporations, lobbyists, politicians who profit from war and fear. The B-21 is a monument to greed, a project that drained trillions of dollars that could have been used for education, health, or to combat poverty. Instead, they were invested in a machine of destruction that promises peace through terror. It is a cruel irony, a dark reminder that behind every military innovation there is a trail of exploitation and despair. And the price of the soul, the erosion of democracy, mass surveillance, the suppression of dissent in the name of national security. The Raider is not just a weapon against external enemies, it is a tool of internal control, an all-seeing eye, capable of monitoring every movement, every thought, every whisper of discontent. It is the guardian of an invisible police state, where freedom is an illusion and conformity is the only option. The B-21 is the price we pay for a power we cannot control, a Faustian bargain that condemns us to a future of fear and submission. What else are we willing to sell to maintain the illusion of security? And when will we realize that the true enemy is not out there, but within us, in our insatiable pursuit of a power that consumes us? The B-21 Raider is the herald of a silent apocalypse, a future where war does not end with a bang, but with a whisper. Its ability to operate undetected means that the next global conflict can begin and end before the world even realizes it. There will be no sirens, no explosions, just the deadly silence of a nation that has been annihilated by a shadow no one saw. The Raider is not just a weapon, it is the trigger of an invisible Armageddon, a scenario where humanity is swept from the face of the earth by a force it itself created. Imagine the terror of an attack that leaves no trace, that gives no time for reaction, that offers no chance of defense. The B-21 is the personification of this nightmare, a predator that hunts in the shadows, eliminating targets with surgical precision, leaving no evidence of its passage. It is the executor of an inevitable destiny, a dark reminder that in the game of modern warfare, invisibility is supremacy, and supremacy is annihilation. The world will not have a chance to fight, only to disappear into a deafening silence. And what remains after the silent apocalypse? A desolate planet, a monument to human arrogance, to our insatiable pursuit of a power that led us to our own destruction. The B-21 Raider is the last whisper before the end, a dark warning that technology, without wisdom and ethics, is a double-edged sword that can cut us to pieces. It is the legacy of a humanity that refused to learn from its mistakes, that continued to build weapons of mass destruction, even knowing that they could be its own ruin. The world will never be the same, and perhaps there will be no world to be the same. The Raider is the end, the silence, nothing, and all this without you even seeing it coming. The B-21 Raider, this war machine that defies reality itself, is not just a technological advance, it is a parasite that feeds on the soul of nations. Its invisible supremacy comes with a hidden price, a debt that humanity may never be able to pay. Behind every silent flight, every undetectable maneuver, there is a web of corruption, manipulation, and sacrifices that will never be revealed to the public. What was truly negotiated in the corridors of power for this technological aberration to exist? What dark secrets were buried to ensure that the Raider remained an untouchable legend, a ghost that haunts the dreams of entire nations? Imagine the diverted fortunes, the secret budgets that swallowed trillions of dollars, money that could have eradicated poverty, cured diseases, or led humanity to new frontiers of knowledge. Instead, it was channeled into the creation of a monster, a tool of domination that promises peace through terror. This is the true face of the Raider, a monument to greed and paranoia, a symbol of the moral decay of a civilization obsessed with control and supremacy at any cost. It is not a guardian of peace, it is a herald of destruction, a parasite that feeds on fear and distrust. The human costs? Not just the lives sacrificed in the name of secrecy, but the brilliant minds that were broken by the pressure, the families torn apart by obsession. The Raider is a black hole of innovation, sucking the future of technology into itself and holding it captive, denying humanity the advances that could transform the world for the better. It is the personification of a power so absolute that it becomes a curse, a tool that, while protecting, also corrupts the soul of those who wield it. What else are we sacrificing in the name of this omnipotent invisibility? And who is truly in control of this machine that seems to have a life of its own, dictating the terms of a war that has not yet begun, but is already being fought in the deepest shadows of human consciousness? The B-21 Raider is not just a bomber, it is the all-seeing eye, the herald of an era of omnipresent surveillance where privacy becomes a relic of the past. With its ability to operate undetected, it can monitor every movement, every conversation, every thought, transforming the world into a prison without walls, where every citizen is a potential prisoner. What happens when the technology that protects us also spies on us, analyzes us, classifies us, controls us? The Raider is the symbol of an invisible police state, a tool of totalitarian control that extends not only over the skies, but over the minds and hearts of citizens. Imagine a future where every step is tracked, every word is recorded, every emotion is analyzed by cold and implacable algorithms. The B-21 is the first step towards this dystopia, a world where freedom is an illusion and conformity is the only option. It is not just a weapon against external enemies, it is a tool of internal control, an all-seeing eye capable of monitoring every movement, every thought, every whisper of discontent. It is the guardian of an invisible police state, where freedom is an illusion and conformity is the only option. And what about the psychological impact? The constant paranoia, the feeling of always being watched, the erosion of trust between individuals and the state. The Raider is not just a war machine, it is a virus that infects the very soul of society, transforming it into a battlefield where fear and distrust are the most potent weapons. It is the price we pay for an illusory security, a Faustian bargain that condemns us to a future of fear and submission. What else are we willing to sell to maintain the illusion of security? And when will we realize that the true enemy is not out there, but within us, in our insatiable pursuit of a power that consumes us and imprisons us? The B-21 Raider, in its majestic invisibility, not only destroys physical targets, it annihilates truth itself. Its secret existence, its hidden capabilities, and the aura of mystery surrounding it make it the perfect tool for disinformation and manipulation. What happens when the world's most powerful weapon is also the most secret, operating in an information vacuum where truth is whatever the dominant power decides it to be? The Raider is the herald of an era where reality is malleable, where facts are irrelevant, and where disinformation is the most potent weapon. Imagine a scenario where an attack attributed to the Raider never happened, or where an event is distorted to serve a political agenda. The B-21's invisibility is not just a tactical advantage, it is a license to lie, a tool to shape public perception and control the global narrative. It is the symbol of a power that operates beyond accountability, beyond scrutiny, beyond truth itself. What happens when the world's most powerful weapon is also the most secret, operating in an information vacuum where truth is whatever the dominant power decides it to be? And what about the impact on society? The erosion of trust in institutions, the polarization of public opinion, the inability to distinguish between fact and fiction. The Raider is not just a war machine, it is a virus that infects the very soul of society, transforming it into a battlefield where fear and distrust are the most potent weapons. It is the price we pay for an illusory security, a Faustian bargain that condemns us to a future of fear and submission. What else are we willing to sell to maintain the illusion of security? And when will we realize that the true enemy is not out there, but within us, in our insatiable pursuit of a power that consumes us and imprisons us, and that destroys truth itself in its path? The B-21 Raider is not just a plane, it is a catalyst for a new era of global paranoia, where distrust is the current currency and invisible fear is the driving force. Its existence, shrouded in secrecy and mystery, sows doubt and suspicion among nations, leading to an unprecedented arms race, where each country seeks its own version of invisibility, plunging the world into a spiral of uncertainty and instability. What happens when the world's most powerful weapon is also the most secret, operating in an information vacuum where truth is whatever the dominant power decides it to be? Imagine a future where alliances are fragile, where diplomacy is a farce, and where war is fought in the shadows with undetectable attacks and invisible retaliations. The Raider is the herald of this nightmare, a world where peace is an illusion and war is a constant, fought in secrets and whispers. It is the symbol of a power that operates beyond accountability, beyond scrutiny, beyond truth itself. What happens when the world's most powerful weapon is also the most secret, operating in an information vacuum where truth is whatever the dominant power decides it to be? And what about the impact on society, the erosion of trust in institutions, the polarization of public opinion, the inability to distinguish between fact and fiction? The Raider is not just a war machine, it is a virus that infects the very soul of society, transforming it into a battlefield where fear and distrust are the most potent weapons. It is the price we pay for an illusory security, a Faustian bargain that condemns us to a future of fear and submission. What else are we willing to sell to maintain the illusion of security? And when will we realize that the true enemy is not out there, but within us, in our insatiable pursuit of a power that consumes us and imprisons us, and that destroys truth itself in its path, leaving a legacy of paranoia and distrust that will haunt future generations? The Raider is the herald of a world divided by invisible fear, a future where peace is a mirage and war is the only constant. The B-21 Raider is not just a war machine, it is a harbinger of the end of humanity as we know it. With its ability to operate undetected, it represents the pinnacle of military automation, an irreversible step towards a future where machines not only fight our wars, but decide them for us. The artificial intelligence that powers it, not just a program, it is an evolving entity, learning and adapting with every flight, every simulation, every whisper of fear it inspires. We are creating our own executioners, beings of metal and code that one day may consider human presence an obstacle to their efficiency. The B-21 is the first step towards military singularity, a point of no return where technology surpasses human control. It is the personification of our insatiable desire for power, a quest that led us to create something that may one day destroy us. The Raider's legacy will not be peace, but totalitarian control, where freedom is a distant memory and humanity lives under the shadow of an all-seeing eye that no one can see. We are on the brink of an abyss, and the B-21 Raider is the final push. The world will never be the same, and perhaps humanity will not either. The era of the invisible machine has arrived, and with it, the end of our sovereignty. Prepare for eternal silence.